Hello, everyone. Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Bombay Teachers Training College. I, Kaneez Fatima Sheikh, and my partner Saba Mansoori, we are from F.Y.B.Ed, and we are going to be presenting on the topic defense mechanism under the guidance of Dr. Rajeev I.Jha. So, my partner Saba, she'll be starting with the introduction now.
Hello everyone, my name is Saba Mansoori and today I'm gonna start with the introduction of defense mechanism. So let's get started. So what are defense mechanism? We use psychological techniques known as defense mechanism to protect ourselves from worry or feelings of sadness. This is an unconscious process typically helps in the management of challenging thoughts and emotions. This idea is based on the psychoanalytical theory that fighting and conflicting forces exist inside the mind. People use defense mechanism as a way to distance themselves from upsetting situations, people or ideas, dangers, negative feelings like guilt or shame. This theory was put forward by Sigmund Freud, states that defense mechanism and behaviors are not the conscious choices made by an individual. Understanding which type you, your loved ones, and even your co-workers use could be useful to you in talks and interactions going forward. If we get frustrated and we react in a certain way, that certain way is known as defense mechanism. So let us know what are the types of defense mechanism. The first one I'm going to talk about is simple denial. When, for example, when parents call on to their children who are engaged in playing, the children claim that they do not hear them. Specifically, what they prevented from allowing them to enter their mind. Compared to children, adults have a higher percentage of denial. Adults aren't always ready to own up to their problems in their day to day life. Denying something or failing at something is a good way to put it off, and it includes blaming on other people for your own failures. So, the way to treat a simple denial is
So, how we treat simple denial is people often come to terms with the reality of a situation on their own given time and support. So, psychotherapy or support groups can also be helpful in a situation like this. And in psychodynamic therapy, learning to recognize and identify defense mechanisms such as denial helps to improve an individual's self awareness to understand their own behavior.
so the next one I'm going to talk about is aggression, which is the second type of defense mechanism. This is one of the most common defense mechanisms that people use. So aggression has two meanings. So one is strong people are referred to as aggression, and the second one is aggressive behavior is defined as trying to obtain something from other people. Someone who makes an effort to rule others is referred to as aggression. A common defense tactics is aggression, which is an attempt to harm or destroy the source of anger. There are two types of aggression, namely extrapunitive and intrapunitive. Extrapunitive is are the responses that attributes the problem to other people or objects are considered extrapunitive. It might come in the shape of verbal expressions, occasionally directed towards inanimate object or animals. When person fails when the person fails to take any action against the figure who is the source of frustration. The second one is intrapunitive, blaming their frustration on themselves. The individual may feel that he is the cause of frustration. He may physically harm or criticize himself. The person feels relieved when they use aggression to let go of suppressed feelings. The next one is I'm going to talk about is compensation. So when someone feels that he's not enough and struggles in one area, he makes up it in another area. Students who struggle to make up for in academic activities, they make up while activities outside the school. The boy who struggles in studying English could make up for it in when he studies Hindi. So the compensation is of various types. The number one is direct compensation is when the boy attempts to become stronger through work in the same field. Like for example, Demotheus, who had an illness that prevented him from speaking clearly of his sluttering, developed into a superb orator. The second one is indirect compensation. In that a student who performs poorly in academics could make up in something else. Parents mostly do this with their children. The fathers enjoy his son's success as an engineer, who because he couldn't be one. The next one is substitute compensation. When someone is lacking in one area and believes that there is no room for improvement in that particular area, they try to excel in completely different area. Like for example, poor student can make up for succeeding to be an athlete. The next one is overcompensation. This is transforming the weakness into strength. Like, for example, Theodore Roosevelt, who was asthmatic as a child, grew up to be a tough rider and a lion hunter in the future. So the next defense mechanism is sublimation. Sublimation plays an major role in molding personality. It is it is transform negative feelings into behaviors that are not only less damaging but sometimes productive in nature. It is more of a positive way to deal with emotions. For example, getting in argument with someone. Your feeling of anger might create a lot of negative thoughts in your mind, which follows by inappropriate actions.
How to treat sublimation. Sublimation is a constructive coping strategy. Resolving anger or pain into doable constructive projects can improve relationships and overall the well-being and even the physical health of a human being. Some therapists even recommend sublimation as a defense mechanism. And let's take an example where a man is going through a divorce. So he might express his emotions by hitting out on his son or damaging his ex-wife's belongings. However, in the case of sublimation, the man might focus his energies on a significant project at work. Next.
The next one is identification. A person transforming himself into another person is known as identification. Those components could be ideas, actions, mechanisms, quality, etc. People essentially identified with actresses, models, political leaders, etc. So, for example, a young child may idolize the actions and imitates the actions and behaviors of somebody that they identify with or look up to. Another example is a student who want to be like a very famous person. They begin to dress like them or to act like that particular person. The next defense mechanism is reaction formula. Expressing completely opposite to how you actually feel is known as reaction formula. It is an unconscious feeling. Like for example, if a person is asked about their about liking their crush, they usually deny it that they don't like them. The next example is women who don't like their mother-in-law may act polite towards her. The next kind of defense mechanism is projection. Projection is also known as the blaming game. So projection is actively used defense strategy by everyone to protect their guilt, shame, and frustrations. For example, when the child is not doing well, they frequently criticize the teacher because of not doing well in the class. A person betrays his partner and accuses his partner to be unfaithful. That are the two examples of defense mechanism. And a projection is also known as self-defense or treating of the projection.
So, speaking with an understanding person can be beneficial. Choose a person you can confide your most vulnerable feelings and experiences in. Just discussing your actions with someone else can yield insightful information. And a relationship drift can arise from projecting emotions, thoughts, and unfavorable self beliefs. We can avoid this by talking about these issues before they become a problem. Next.
The next kind of defense mechanism is negativism. Some people have negative reaction when under stress. It is a negative reaction to the issues that they cannot tackle and reacts in a loud, stubborn, and rebellious manner. Early childhood lays the foundation for this mechanism, which appears in their adulthood. The next type of defense mechanism is regression. So, regression is when under stress, people usually react to these situation as a baby or in a childlike approach. It is also known as unconscious backtracking, means either in memories or action they may have achieved a positive result in the past. The person might cry uncontrollably and have fist. Or like for example, when a child stay in a hospital for a very long time, they might start sucking their thumb once or more, or wetting their bed. The second example is a nurse giving the patient the wrong prescription and she starts crying. The treatment of regression.
So, regression can be treated in a number of ways in the current era of behavioral health. People with regressive tendencies may find healthier and more beneficial methods to cope with trauma. Treatment of regressive symptoms may also benefit from the application of applied behavioral analysis. It is used to identify more desirable replacement behaviors or to try to reduce or eliminate undesirable behavior. This kind of therapy is frequently used among younger kids and those who have neurodiversity. Next.
The next type of defense mechanism is repression. Now, this is very different.
So, the treatment for repression is cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. It aims to alter unfavorable thought and behavior patterns. Counselor assists clients in recognizing and combating repressive tendencies so that more constructive coping mechanism can take their place. Then the goal of emotionally focused therapy or EFT is to examine and deal with emotion in the context of interpersonal relationships. Through effective communication and an understanding of the emotional reactions, this therapy supports emotional intimacy in both individuals and couples.
The next defense mechanism is rationalization. This is also a very common mechanism used by everyone around us and even us also. So, rationalization means like the person frustrated and unable to find a satisfactory solution to his problem. Rather than providing a valid reason for his behavior, he invents himself one. For example, giving excuses and reasoning to satisfy emotions, like the story of sour grapes and fox. And one more example is the boy who experiences a girl's rejection perceives that the girl is flawed. Treatment.
So the treatment for rationalization, well, majority of people occasionally engaged in rationalization. Although there are advantages, it can also result in poor decision making and poor accountability. So the few things that you can do to treat rationalization is developing self-awareness, becoming adept at recognizing emotions, engaging in emotional acceptance are a few of the useful techniques. You can also work with a therapist that will help you to recognize justification and come up with better strategies to cope up with difficult emotions. Next.
The next defense mechanism and the last is fantasy. Fantasy is a temporary way to escape from real world by imagining, daydreaming, and all the fictitious means. For example, hungry men dreaming of food, unsuccessful men dreaming of being successful. We mostly fantasize things we don't have. If it can be harmful if not followed by any actions. Like for example, a boy who experiences bullying from his friends desires to possess a very uh, strong superpower.
Positive effects of defense mechanisms. First is increases your self esteem. So whenever you feel low about yourself, maybe due to criticisms or painful experiences, defense mechanism can help you boost your self esteem. They also help to deal with unpleasant emotions and sentiments more easily, which otherwise would feel very overwhelming. Second is to cope up with stressful situations. Now, stressful situations can be pressure at work, significant life event, or even some common issues. So many people they find it difficult to deal with this, and it can entail engaging in denial, where you refrain from thinking about it and helps cope with the stressful scenarios. Then next is managing anxiety. So using defense mechanism can help manage the feelings of worry or fear, making them feel less frightening, which helps reduce anxiety. It also involves putting facts before your actual feelings. For example, coming up with explanation for why the circumstance is not genuinely dangerous. Next is it helps control your emotions. Controlling our emotions can be aided by defense mechanisms. Repression, for example, is the act of not allowing harsh memories and kicking them out. Disadvantages of defense mechanism. First is the avoidance of reality, for example, denial. Persistently denying the seriousness of a health issue may prevent seeking necessary medical attention, which can worsen the overall condition of a person. Second is hindrance of growth, example, regression. Regressing to childlike behavior during stress may delay adult responsibilities and personal development. Then there's strained relationships. Example, projection. Projecting personal insecurities onto others, which can create misunderstandings and conflicts, which may also damage relationships. Then the next one is unconscious impact. Example, repression. Repressing memories of a traumatic event may lead to ongoing psychological struggles as the person remains unaware of the root cause that is affecting their well being. The last one is temporary solutions, example, rationalization. So, rationalizing undesirable behaviors might offer temporary relief from guilt, but it does not address the underlying issues. Like it may lead to repeated patterns. So, balancing the use of defense mechanism with healthier coping strategies is also essential for long term emotional well being. Next. So these are the few examples of defense mechanism which was used in COVID times. You can read the examples and then you can mention in the comment section which type of defense mechanism it is. Next.
To conclude our presentation, as we have previously read, coping up with stressful situations or negative thoughts and behaviors naturally involves using a defense mechanism. We frequently use these tools unconsciously and without thinking about the long term effects. But if it makes you feel more stressed or anxious and interferes with your daily activities, you should see a doctor to help you to adopt a very positive mentality. I hope you like our presentation, and thank you for listening and sticking to till the end. And I hope you like it.